Alex Ansary here. It is the 8th day of July in the year 2019. I want to bring meditation into focus. We talk about many things under the sun here on this channel, but right now we're going into a more direct focus. Looking at the cycles within my own life, I can see periods in which there was the most amount of inner work, the inner journey to discover the inner self. So I've talked about 2000 being a period, also when the solar cycle kicked up, 2009, 10, 11, walked away from OTB TV then. Then there's that period where I went to Costilla County and I just knew that I needed to be in kind of a remote area. Then there was the period in which I knew that I needed to be in Portland, Oregon to see it one last time and then to experience other places. In my opinion and understanding, it's been about the magnetism because there's an influence. There is a straight up energetic influence over our field. Okay, it's based on our own thoughts, our own actions, our own behaviors, but also the environment. So think about Bruce Lipton, think about biology of belief, and this concept of epigenetics and the environment. So there's a spiritual side of it. It's like, hey, let's think positively so we can rise above this disease or the lack of flow, right? But then there's the stuff that people maybe don't understand. By the way, try to excuse the sound of wind. We're not using a microphone, but most of my words, I'm sure, could be heard and understood. These modern cities with the rollout of 5G is going to be doing something to the human auric field, and naturally we're connected to the Earth's magnetic field, and they say that that's running at an average of 7.8 hertz, and that there's some sort of link between our consciousness and the field of the Earth. So what happens when we start dealing with these disharmonic frequencies? And so this is why meditation, as we go into the future, should be at the front of your list of solutions. You know, next to travel, next to some of the other things. But what's the point of buying a shielding device if you're not already shielding your energy space? So you can look online for a variety of teachers. Some have their own schools. You can find blogs. You can find guided meditations. You may start with a few guided meditations. We're just going to do a commentary on meditation, right? You're going to find something that's going to work for you during certain years. Other years, you're going to find that it doesn't apply, and it's time to walk away from it, right? Like, our lives are fairly short. Who knows how many times we live, however, and if we're retaining this information or not. I would argue that we're retaining this information, and there's never a time or an excuse to say that it's time to stop learning. A person is not too old, ever, to learn new ideas that may be able to set their soul free. You know, in the past, I would go out in nature and I would talk and get all ramped up and bounce around topics, and I would have the selfie stick. Right now, I've got the tripod because I'm trying to also hold the focus on this. So we talk about grounded at the center of the earth. Your religion is not being challenged. This was something, you know, that I remember hearing at a Vipassana meditation. You know why I recommend that in the solutions? I'm not trying to be esoteric. I went on a 10-day meditation retreat in 2002. A couple years before starting OTB TV, well, I was still in some dark ages, but working at the Benson Hotel as a busboy and doing other things. Went back to school during those years. There were periods before OTB TV that I was attempting to be productive in other ways. Was involved in writing class, writing 101, speech class, just taking basic classes at community college. But what I was really excited about doing, it was something about that solar cycle. There was nothing more that I wanted to do at a certain point than go on this remote meditation retreat where there was straight up no talking, no electronics, literally a guy that gave me a ride from Portland into rural Washington to take that he was gone the next day. He couldn't handle the silence. It was straight women on one side, men on the other, only for the purpose of us not being distracted by the natural way that we are. You know, it was vegetarian, but it was all based in observing the breath going in and out of the nose. And there were talks about how this is not something that was designed to clash with other people's religions. That someone could be a member of a certain particular faith, but see the value in meditation in staying calm. And so, you can Google the Cliff Notes. I'm giving you one example of many. Vipassana is about breathing at a natural pace in and out of the nose and pulling oneself back from the reactive monkey mind. That's a great way to put it. Think about the mind that's constantly responding to stimuli, maybe scratching if a fly lands, some sort of sound. The idea is to become more equanimous. Now, this is the type of stuff that I would recommend for pulling back from mind control. What is all this stuff geared towards on social media now? Reacting, disinformation. And then we're constantly being toyed with. There's a certain level of stimuli from the things that we're seeing, from the type of advertising and symbols that are blasting out of the YouTube advertising banner on top. Now, check out the video that I have put out for VHX. Okay, I'm talking about mindful relationships, but ultimately asking the right question. Is it a good time to get involved in a relationship right as we're about to see maybe the outbreak of a new war? So talking about consciousness, relationships outside the box of certain acronyms that other people have used. Everything that I cover under the sun here on planet Earth is outside the box of the norm. So if you want to check out that video, please join VHX for $5.95 per month. Right now I'm making nothing from YouTube. And so from your help on these alternative platforms and Patreon, please join, right? You can help me keep my focus on this. Okay. The focus of the YouTube channel is going to be on the solar sciences, my opinion about certain things regarding how the power elite use the solar cycles against us, and why meditation is one of the personal solutions to their attempt to mind control us. It's undervalued, it's misunderstood, and there is a greater interest in other conspiracies, even many that are planted by design by them, to send people chasing their tail, than there is on people figuring out, hey, wait a minute, many of these events that have been suspected to be manufactured happen to coincide with solar peaks. So that is a perspective that I'm bringing to the equation, to the understanding. Okay? Alexander Chizhevsky left us a template. He left us an understanding. Oftentimes people are talking about, there's this room where they take the presidents and whatnot, and they show them the GFK tape to keep them in line. Interesting, because what I think about is also a special room. A special room, kind of like one of those covers on a Megadeth album, Hangar 18. Like that particular album where the world leaders are sitting with them, the controllers, or the archons, depicted in various forms. Right? But the basic idea is that in the real room of control, there are supercomputers, there are blueprints, there is the human body being displayed on a computer in real time. Think of Predator in the movie, using heat imagery, looking at Stallone, seeing his heat, and that type of scenario. And that's how I suspect that the spiritual parasites see us. When the sun gets active, our auras get active. There could be certain types of colors emitting. There could be super emotional responses that some humans have over others. And just like Morpheus explained to Neo, what they want us to turn us into, what they want to turn us into is one of these, a battery. Well, I think we already are in this matrix. We are batteries. We are a food source. And so when people aren't grounded, right, and these energies are coming in and they're being led, especially when propaganda is involved, towards wars, towards other actions of aggression. I'm talking about scenarios in which the brainwave changes in a split second, the alpha brainwave status, 60%, in that split second, in these strange times we're in, even a solar minimum, where someone could be impacted by cosmic rays or other things, the paranormal is active when there are these interactions with the field. It's not just the sun that influences the Earth's magnetic field. So when we get into the potential that there is some sort of intention to bring about a zombie apocalypse through dramatic changes in the field that mutate humans in a non-good way, in a way other than positive, right? These are even more reasons to be in control of our own shield, of our own aura. And so embark on the truth as to how you're going to maintain shields up in a world where we are looking at shields down. Okay, we'll go over the specifics in a future video, the specific report that cites why they believe that they have found that, yes, in our lifetimes, the magnetic poles can flip. And this has happened before. Now they believe that they have some guesstimations as to previous magnetic polar shifts. And so we're in the middle of this polar shift. The veil is getting thinner. Things are coming through that haven't come through before, maybe even for a long, long time. I would even say that there is perhaps some sort of anticipation as we close in on 2024, 2025. Now remember, 2017 total solar eclipse and 2024 solar eclipse mark an X over Middle America, not too far from the Mississippi River, not too far from St. Louis, Missouri. And so as we look at the potential for future wars on American soil, as we look at the crossing of the X 2024, knowing NASA has already said that 2025 is expected to be a peak, as opposed to previous solar cycles, we've seen double peaks in previous solar cycles. This time, we're looking at an actual concentration of energy where X marks the spot. So, in conclusion, if we are at our most powerful during, I would even say, extreme parts of the solar cycle, solar maximum and a solar minimum. The CIA has done studies that their remote viewing experiments have proved to be more effective during solar minimum. It's like the quiet without the noise. We're in that period now with light, geomagnetic activity, just sizzling in the background. The sun just sizzling. You know, nothing's flaring too hot or too high right now, but we're still getting those blasts. We deal with these new moons, full moons, solar flares impacting our grid, solar flares impacting our field, more specifically. A morphogenetic field that we are all connected to. And so, there are certain activities, you're just going to have to excuse the wind. There are certain activities, there are certain thoughts. Whoosh. Embrace the wind. Yes. Certain things are good for your aura. Certain things are bad. There are differences of opinion when it comes to smoking cigarettes. Some people believe that there is a sacred use of it. I'm open-minded to that idea. I'm not fundamentalist with my idea on the smoking of organic tobacco. But in a general sense, drugs, alcohol, things like that weaken the aura and allow some people to be manipulated. That was the point earlier. We go through these changes where people are already drinking and drugging in these cities, affected by these other changes. In comes a solar flare. There's a reason why some people are flipping out. They literally flip out, they go through breakdowns, well, or they have a breakthrough, or a breakdown that leads to a breakthrough, vice versa. Couple simple body movements, as I mentioned in a recent video from Qigong. And back down. Can you hear me now? From back and forth, and just visualizing that ball of energy, that line of electricity in between. Practice these energies during the solar minimum, during solar maximum. Practice these exercises. Rosy palms was what the Tai Chi teacher called this particular exercise. And there are even some booklets where it, like, you know, draws the lines of the fingers. Energy connecting the two. There's energy in our bones. On a book on the Native American medicine wheel, there was something there about the magnetism of the human skull as well. We have been, in a way, brainwashed in the Death Worship Society to only look at the human skull from a perspective of skull and bones. And there's other spiritual ways of looking at things like that. Hello. And so, the hands are energy centers. Certain exercises can get the energy flowing. That's flowing all through here. Okay, so there are certain exercises that I do just to keep the energy flowing. Okay, and Qigong is a series of set exercises. What I do is more of a free flow. Okay, And so there are additional ways, for example, with regards to the fingers, of positioning the fingers while meditating. Okay, this was discussed in the 29-minute video on VHX. But see, you have this whole world now of choices. You can listen now to music with particular kinds of sounds and hertzes that is good for your energy field. That may be exactly what you need when dealing with all that electromagnetic pollution. You can look on Amazon or eBay and get some speakers. I'm kind of missing some at the moment. I'm just using my computer speakers. There's a reason why even noise-canceling headphones have been recommended by some people that believe that they are targeted. Ultimately, for people that are waking up to that type of reality, need to be able to trace its ultimate source and see it for what it is. See us for where we are in the petri dish, and not misconfuse in a psychosis where it's coming from. Ultimately, somebody has to become their own healer and their own guide to a certain degree, or to pray for guidance. Other people on the internet, comment sections, internet chat rooms, this may help in the transfer of ideas very quickly. That may help us. Think about a blueprint that builds a house that a bunch of people are working on and sharing and building upon the blueprint. Like, technology can revolutionize how fast an idea can evolve. Technology has also shown us the weaponized aspect of it, the distracting aspect of it, the idiocracy aspect of it. And so we have choices. You know, I miss letting out my energy in urban areas. But I already feel like living in the grid made me sick before. It's like I want the best of both worlds, you know? So what I've been doing the last couple of years is bringing in the energy here where I am, to be grounding to the earth on a more regular basis. I created a little medicine wheel for myself, started connecting with the 4 elements for the first time. Connecting with, well, my first pet since I've been an adult. I was a kid when I had a few dogs, but I've never actually officially been close to cats. So when I got a cat, that was a part of, I guess, my heart opening up after years of saying, you know, being on the road and traveling and trying to find, you know, the right place to settle. It never felt right for me to have a pet. I was always worried about it getting hurt. And this is because of a history of animals that have gotten hurt, that ran out into the road when I lived on 40 acres. Coming here to Colorado was a big part of me going into the depths of the grain of the nature, attempting to heal. And I'm at this level now to where I see what my progress has been, doing things a certain way up until a certain point. And there's like, I got bees right now around me. I guess they get attracted to certain levels of magnetism. Now I can see at this age of 39 where things need to be going out from here on out in this cycle. And we go through these cycles in our lives of birth and death. And so there's a period to talk about certain things. There's a period to, yes, go there. Yeah, go there. And there's also a period in which we allow ourselves to have an interest in a new book, or a new person, or a new idea, or to have a deeper understanding of something, or for a certain fear to be removed. I definitely feel like something's been removed from me over the course of the last month. And so hopefully these ideas, from body movements to other things, can be helpful to you. Some of the ideas on VHX will go deeper in some of these ideas. That's a way you can help me have my own platform that is a part of, I guess, the overall whole. YouTube has been kind of in the dumps lately. I've been seeing the writing on the wall. You know, there's ways you can help me expand this content. Ultimately, it's about the spiritual evolution. There's going to be things that are thrown at us between now and the election. Even if you're an independent and you don't have like a side, you can still get pulled in by the emotionalism of others. And we can even find ourselves spending a lot of time on analysis mode of elements of our society that are caught up in the political madness or the political discussions. Some of them are worth having. It's not all madness, but ultimately we have to come to a point where we go, is this the most important issue? are the people that are coming down at some of these rallies bringing up the most important issues? Or is there a negative energy that's feeding on itself? Have we seen confirmation of this? Because when I think about the future and where I'd like to be in the 2020s, I think about community. I think about a world without electricity. I think about surviving those conflicts. I think about the deep levels of healing without all the noise that humans around the world could be engaged in. I know that we're taught to be concerned for our lives in the event of a grid meltdown, and it's totally messed up that they have almost set us up with these power plants, set us up in the sense that they know what's coming, but there isn't a law that says that those power plants have to have enough fuel to maintain backup generators for a set amount of time. So where does that leave us, the human population? So certain things are out of our control, right? But the last thing that we should allow them to do to us, after we've already been abused and directed in these different directions, they want to, in a way, inject, in my opinion, the idea of the apocalypse if the sun were to take out the grid, right? And they're the ones that have chosen to not reinforce the grid. So we have to really ask ourselves some deeper questions. Is there something that they know that we don't know? Most people by now believe the answer to that is yes. We're past the entry-level discussion on the threat to the grid, right? Now it's almost used as clickbait by some people like the Express.uk that are always talking about the grid on the verge of collapse. I'm not here trying to follow in those footsteps. I'm here trying to ask people as we approach this potential moment, people should ask themselves, what's really happening here? Why is the grid really going to go down? Or why is it going down? What's really taking place here? What is God's will? Where is God in all this? Is God removed from the picture? Is God somewhere else? Has God taken a vacation? Has the sun overthrown God? What's really going on here? How do we know that God is not in the picture? So those are my thoughts to you, coming to you from the National Forest, right? It's about the individual shift in consciousness for the better, preventing the mind control from infecting you, being able to ground yourself to the center of the earth, even if you're in a dense population center. Hey, and if you love this video and others like it, please join Patreon. The link is down below. I'm Ansary signing off. Talk to you next time.